Having heard from the experts on what makes the business litigator role so difficult and the lawsuits they handle so challenging, it begs the question as to how teams of them should and can be led on the business side of things. It can't be easy. We have two of the best here for a one-on-one conversation on the topic of promoting, marketing, and managing the business law firm. Please welcome Paul Mersino, President and CEO of Butzel, and Chuck Bullock, founder of Bullock and Stevenson.
Listen to that round of applause. Thank you, Dirk, and the two other people. All right, we don't have moderator, so we're just winging it up here.
We are, and this is, I think this is going to be a little fun because we get to talk about those things that we deal with every day with completely different scopes, right? We have a law firm that's 170 years old, founded when Franklin Pierce was president. Think about that. Abraham Lincoln wasn't even president, and the law firm was around, almost 200 lawyers. And then my office, Stevenson and Bullock, we have 9 lawyers. We are almost 30 years old. And we've been very lucky because, in our world, being a smaller boutique firm, we get to interact with firms like this on an everyday basis. So today it's going to be, I think, for us, easy to talk to you as a group.
Well, let's start right there, kind of the differences between our jobs. I bet a lot of our day is the same, and probably a little bit of it's different. I think it's more impressive you started a firm. I mean, I inherited a well-oiled machine, but tell us about starting a firm and then just all that goes into that.
So I made a really informed decision in late 1997, early 1998. My wife at the time was pregnant. We were buying a house. I had no savings. And my current partner said, we should go into business together. And I said, boy, that's a great idea. I have nothing to lose, right? So one of the things that made it easy was that sort of hunger, which I think all of us have when we're starting our own firms, whether it's one lawyer by themselves or a small group of 10 splitting off of a larger firm. There's a little bit of fire in your belly that you have to make it. And we had that, and I think still have it.
I love it. That's impressive. A little bit different, as you mentioned, we've been around for 172 years, have about 175 attorneys, 8 offices in Michigan, 1 in DC. So I have a lot of miles on my car, try to get around to all the offices as much as I can. But at the end of the day, it's the personal relationships, it's the ability to collaborate with people. It's a lot of fun. Every morning I come in, I've got my to-do list, and within about 5 seconds, I just throw it in the trash because there's the daily fires and the phone calls and the emails. But I truly enjoy it and wouldn't have it any other way. So how do you promote and market your firm? Tell us a little bit. You told us about when you got a website. I thought this was unique.
This is really exciting. We just got a website. So, yeah, thank you. It's great when you're in your mid-50s, when you see yourself on the website, you realize you don't look the way you think you look. We have tried to do something a little bit different in the last few years, which is sort of accept the fact that we need to market for 2026. And a lot of this is being pushed by the lawyers at the office, folks that have a better perspective than a couple of us do. So the website, and the other thing that I think is really great, particularly when you don't have an institutional client base, is it's the relationships. It's the 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Like I look around the room here, and some of my better, friends and people that I fight with from time to time, agree with from time to time are in the room. Scott, Jimmy Allen, I see Dirk. These are all people that I've known for maybe decades, that depending on the hat that we're wearing, at the end of the day, I still know that I can trust that person on the other side, and maybe if there's a conflict case, it goes from here to here. But that's our marketing. That's what we do. We don't have big clients.
That's all right. I've found, at least I believe, that everything you do is promotion and marketing. So your work product, your brief, how well you do in that, you're marketing yourself and your firm, whether you know it or not. How you comport yourself in court or in mediation or on the phone with opposing counsel, that's a form of marketing. We'll talk a little bit more as we go in here about, marketing teams and websites and word of mouth and everything else, but everything you do. So one thing we just really hammer home as often as I have a microphone in my hand in front of my firm is just a commitment to excellence in everything. And we like to say a lot, I stole this, everything I say I stole, I didn't invent this, but the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you half-ass it in the little things, it's gonna show up in the big things, but also just how you treat people, how you act. It's funny you mentioned the personalities and relationships in this room. I've got partners in here, I've got associates in here, I have former partners in here, I have former associates in here who've left and gone to other firms. I have people I've recruited in here who said no thank you. I've got people I've hired. I know Mark because he was opposing counsel. Mark and Linda, we had a case against each other.
That's how I met Mark.
Yeah, and we were zealous advocates for our clients. We ended up settling the case. I now refer cases to Mark. He asked me to come up here and talk for some reason. But in Linda, same with her. Just great relationships. So everything you do, you're marketing yourself.
One of the things with marketing that I'm struggling with, there's a place, but I can't figure out where that line is drawn. So, the websites are important. The, continuing legal education, which unfortunately, I don't think there's as much attention on that as there used to be, but that was a great place to market ourselves, get to know people. But, we have LinkedIn and things like that now, and I can't figure out with like LinkedIn, where is that fine line, right? So with LinkedIn, I'll look at it and you're either bragging or you're just trying to make everybody aware that someone's had a success or that there was something that happened that you want to bring to everyone's attention. Then there's that other bucket, which is everything that gets posted, you see the thumbs up to, and I'm trying to figure out, is that marketing? Is there a better way to use platforms like LinkedIn to market our business? Because we're all on LinkedIn, right? And it's a terrific platform. I just think that it's something that we need to figure out how to manage better at times.
I think you're right. Tell us a little bit about word of mouth and how that plays into things for you.
So I started as a bankruptcy lawyer, and bankruptcy is, it's a real niche, right? Probably not as intellectual as intellectual property, but it's a niche. Almost every single case I've ever received has been because of word of mouth. There are some folks that do a lot of the advertising, but I think lawyers that are in this group, that type of marketing doesn't work. So word of mouth is, in my opinion, the single most important marketing technique that I have.
And I think it's important for us to remember it goes both ways. Every case you've gotten is word of mouth, but you can also lose clients that you never knew you had an opportunity to do if you don't do a good job for your client.
Right.
So the negative report you can get from a client is, could be detrimental. You don't even know how many clients you lost because of it. So it's very important, I think, to treat every single client, every single matter like it's the most important one you have, like it's the most important client you have. Responsiveness, respond to those emails, respond to the phone calls. The little stuff, the way your client feels when they walk away from you is everything. They come to you usually because they have a really big problem or maybe some big thing they want to obtain. But if they walk away feeling better than when they came to you, they're then going to tell the next person who tells the next person.
I find that we become a little bit competitive. I loved what Mike Weaver was saying, where he's like trying to get better at, kind of the collegiality, the civility, and I believe that. You've got great lawyers, and I think sometimes we forget that these professional relationships, it's not about buddy-buddy, it's about respect and the ability to, have that trust in the case. We're a receiver's office. We do a lot of receivership work now. I look at the back of the room, Frank Simon's one of the best receivers in the business. If I don't get a case, he gets the case, I'm happy, because I know they're going to be serviced well. I don't know that I was that way when I was 30. But I think today, it's a lot easier to look around and go, all right, if I didn't get it, there'll be one maybe next time, and the person that did get it is capable, and let's be civil.
Absolutely. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. I'm going to talk about what we do as far as outside services and expertise. Well, I'm going to start internally with our marketing. We've got a 5 or 6 person full-time marketing team, marketing and business development. That's all they do. That's internally. We also hire a PR firm. We don't use them every day, but when we need to put things out there, we use a PR firm. We have branding experts who helped us come up with our brand, our logo, our website. We've got the website specialists who have helped us develop that, and we're always tinkering it. We don't just put it up there and it's static. We're always updating it, tinkering it. We have an SEO, search engine optimization expert, who helps us behind the scenes. We recently promoted my chief marketing officer, did a little bit of a rebrand, but also a reboot to her position. She's now our chief experience officer, so our CXO. And she's in charge of the client experience. So we want every one of our clients not to just get our invoices, pay their bills every month. We hope they do that too. But we want them to walk away thinking, wow, they really did a great job for me. Wow, I've never had a service company make me feel this way, or make me feel this important, or give me this level of attention. So we're really big on what we refer to, again, I stole this, unreasonable hospitality. We want every one of our clients not just to get great work product. I tell my clients, or my employees, I should say all the time, most of our clients, a lot of our clients, they're not going to know whether you wrote the best brief ever. They're not going to know whether you made the greatest opening statement ever, but they're going to know how they felt when they walked away. They're going to know if you responded immediately. They're going to know if you were up late at night thinking about their case. So we're trying to work all that in. We also do lots of social events for our clients, sporting events. So we try to give them the full service while also, providing them the best legal service should be the given. We also want to make sure they have a great experience.
Do you find that when you're sponsoring things, and I know you could sponsor something every single day, is there a sort of a weighing point where you say, we may not see the ROI tomorrow, but the goodwill that we're building down the road is going to come back in dividends?
Yeah, I heard someone recently use the term, there's the ROI, the return on investment, then there's the return on relationships. And if you can do, what we try not to do is, you could sponsor a hole at every golf outing in the state all summer long, and I'm sure we do a lot of that too. But where can we help somebody further their event? Where can we make it a little bit better? Where can we let someone know just that we're in their corner? So if we can get that relationship building aspect out of it, that's where we really want to put our eggs. How about you as far as marketing?
So really important for us, being a smaller firm, is to get the name out, right? So sort of at the beginning, and this could be one lawyer, it could be 10 lawyers, it's sponsoring things sort of at the legal level, right? You do some bar association events, you do some golf outings, just so people go, all right, I recognize the name. There's Stevenson and Bullock, I've seen that. They must be somewhere doing something. After that, I found walking a little bit outside of our sort of safe zone, going into the kind of philanthropic world, helps a lot. You give a little bit to charity in terms of your time or your treasure, it pays dividends. It certainly does. Because those people that are involved with the not-for-profit universe, generally they're leaders in the community, and they'll see your name and they'll go, I know who those people are. And I believe this. Most of the time when we're getting ready to get employed or engaged by a client, that client has called someone that they trust. And if that someone knows who we are or knows a lawyer or two in the office, we always get hired.
Nope, that's great advice. So going to the social media, should you be bragging? Should you be out there touting yourself? You spoke to it a little bit. I think the answer is you do have to a little bit, especially when you're younger, first coming up, trying to make your name. Now, obviously, there's an obnoxious way to do it, and there's a graceful way to do it. Try to err on the side of gracefulness, obviously. But I will tell you this, whether it's bragging or putting out client alerts or writing articles, this stuff does make a difference, and you don't always know where it's going to happen. I had a friend who reached out to me a few years ago, not in the legal industry, doesn't know the first thing about any legal issue, said, hey, you do non-compete trade secret work, right? And I said, yep. And he said, well, I've got a friend who owns a business and he needs a lawyer. Ended up being a really good client, still a client to this day. So how did my friend know I did that? Because we never talked about that stuff. I happen to know he's on the same, he's on LinkedIn. He saw that I would post articles, probably never read a single word of any of them, but he'd see the headline and associate that with me. And I think that's a lot of what social media is how do people associate you with things, with winning, with losing, with this subject matter, with your philanthropic stuff. But we all have a brand, whether we mean to or not, whether we know we do or not. So how are you kind of cultivating that brand? And I think a really cheap way to do that is on social media. It's free to use. Anyone can do it, and you can do it every single day. So I think there is a place for it. I think try to stay away from the personal stuff or the political stuff, things like that. But I think there is a place for it to kind of build that brand a little bit.
On the business side, it's important to do a tactful victory lap when you have a win, right? Tactful. But, we are a competitive group, and if you post every time you've won an uncontested motion in front of a judge, you're going to have people that are not really enjoying your postings after a little while, right? You can't do that. So I think there is a way where you don't look like you're necessarily bragging. You're just usually saying, I'm really proud of ABC lawyer, however you phrase it, at the office, who did an amazing job with X, in front of the court, tie it off, and you're done. So it looks more like you're reporting on something positive that happened as opposed to look at me. People love to see positive. They don't like to see look at me.
Yeah, and engage with others, comment on their things, get involved with conversations, not always the here's me, look at me. So you've been at this more years than I have. How have you seen marketing your law firm change throughout the years?
Well, at the beginning, I think I was lucky because I was too young and probably too needing to succeed to not go out and shake every hand, right? I mean, bankruptcy is an incredibly small community, and the receivership world is a small community. So I went out of my way really to try to meet all of the people that I thought were important players in our world. The marketing worked because many of those lawyers, they would have things that maybe they had a conflict with that were smaller, and they would feed it over. I think the one gift that we all have is life, but we have to appreciate that attrition happens for one reason or another, and one way to become prominent as a lawyer is for all the people in front of you to retire, right? So I've found that those folks, those lawyers that I truly respected and tried to emulate, most of them have retired by now. So that work is slowly dripping off to many of us, and our job is to do a very good job, right? And then the folks behind us, maybe in age, are going to be getting those cases. Marketing, the shaking the hands, the getting the name out, that's the alpha, though. That's what you have to do to get to that point of getting those cases.
No, I agree with that. I guess that's a way to say what hasn't changed throughout the years. But you got to be involved. And I always tell our attorneys, it might mean a bar association, it might be the business law section, but it could also be a pickup basketball team. It could be the bowling at the DAC. It could be a reading club. It could be your church. It could be something. It has to be something. Don't just work your 9 to 5, or everyone works longer than that, but go home, turn your phone off, shut the door, and you never see the outside world. Just get involved, be a part of your community. And then it's great because you're just building relationships. And you don't have to be selling yourself. You're not running down the basketball court saying, hey, here's my business card. You're building relationships, but then when somebody does need something, they reach out to you.
I do want to make one suggestion, and this is just a rule that I try to live by, and the lawyers that I really respect, and there are a number of them in this room, do. When you see someone have a success, don't hate on it. Celebrate it. Commend them. I saw what happened. You did terrific. I'm happy for you. In your words, it's that sort of personal feel where they go, maybe this is a little bit more than business. This is a relationship that I'm creating. Everyone likes to know that they're being recognized, and I think it's one of the best marketing tools we have.
I agree. So what do you think about the necessity to meet in person, to be in person, whether with clients or referral sources, whatever? How much is we're such an online world now. How important is it to be in person?
I really like it. And I don't think I'm dated for saying that. I think, there's some darn good mediators, and they settle big cases and they do it by Zoom and remotely. But I bet if you polled all of them, they'd say I'd prefer having the parties in the room. I think being in person in court gives us the ability to interact with other lawyers and create relationships, and the judges get to know us a little bit and, maybe say, okay, that's a good lawyer and a decent person. The other thing that we do by being in person, by meeting the client one-on-one, is we're able to have that kind of humanity exchanged. And when we're in court doing it, we're able to do something that I think is incredibly important, which is to offer whatever we have to those people that are those attorneys that are trying to get skills that may be a little bit younger than we are, a little bit less experienced than we are. And if you're a transactional attorney, it's one thing just to send paperwork back and forth, but I don't think there's anything better than brainstorming with another transactional attorney about a deal, right?
I think that's right. From a marketing perspective, too, I'm going to take this from two different perspectives. Nothing tops the in-person connections with your client, especially if you can do it outside of the law, outside of your current matter, outside of trying to sell them. Take them to a game, take them to a concert, get together for a drink, stop by their office on your way home, because your competitors aren't doing that. They're doing other stuff. So try to meet your clients where you can in person. The flip side of that is the reality is you're not always going to be able to do that. I've got clients I've had long-standing matters with who have never met in person, whether it's because they're out of state, whatever the circumstances are, or you've met them once, but it's been a year since you saw them, but you can still stay in touch with them. It's easier today than ever. Shoot them a text, remember their phone, remember their birthday, call them on the phone every now and then just to check in. So while it's very important the in-person is important, there are other ways to keep the relationship going even if you haven't seen them lately. So how have you seen the competition has changed? The way we compete with each other, who the competition is, has that changed over the years for you?
Yeah, a little bit, right? So, I'm really lucky because I've gotten to know some of the best commercial litigators probably in the country. We've got great commercial litigators here. And, that's sort of pieces being moved around a chessboard, right? You could take the commercial litigators from 1998 and the commercial litigators in 2026, and I think other than the technology, they could all try the cases. You're right. I mean, they could all, but I think we are a little bit less civil at times now. We don't have sort of that relationship level type practice because I don't think we have as many active bar events. We don't have as many get-togethers. We don't do those things that create the relationship outside of the profession. In my world as a receiver and a bankruptcy attorney, we're a small universe, right? So we know the good guys and the bad guys, and competition is important, but it's friendly competition. It's not aggressive competition.
Yep. What's interesting to me is what's going to happen a lot of it's technology based, a lot of it's just financial structures. So we all know that AI is going to take all of our jobs and we're going to be out of jobs any day now. We've been hearing it for a while, but it is going to impact things. It's going to change things. Alternative service providers are the big three accounting firms going to now have lawyers and they're competing for the same clients as us. Out-of-state firms are coming into Detroit. We've got Jones Day here now, Foley, Taft more recently, which I invited. I think it's great, but it's changing things a little bit. And then now, the biggest thing is private equity potentially coming into law firms with the MSO model and taking up ownership of the firms. So it's going to be really interesting. I think the next few years we might see some changes, but it'll be interesting. So it's amazing how fast time goes when we're up here.
Yeah, honestly. I do want to say one thing about competition. It's funny with the kind of the world becoming larger, right, but still in our little neighborhoods. We would charge a prevailing hourly rate in our cases. On the national cases, particularly in bankruptcy, you're cheap if you're $1,200 an hour, and I'm seeing hourly rates approach $2,500 an hour. And we can't get that in Michigan. So that is a natural barrier to entry for people in that universe.
Yep. So we got about a minute left here. How do you know your firm's marketing's working? What does success look like?
Well, we'd like to say it's the bottom line and we're paying our bills as they come due and everyone's happy, but I really think it's when we sit down and we talk about next year, we're talking about growth. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about, oh my gosh, we have to build to get to a place where we're at even. So the successes that we have are little successes that we just keep trying to build on. I think really that's where we are.
I like that, the growth mindset, that you're always looking to go up. I also love when you walk around events like this and you hear people compliment one of your colleagues or say, hey, that new hire you just made was a great one. Or a client calls you and says, Mark Rossman, the guy you tried a case for against not that long ago, told me I should call you because your firm's doing good things. So it's a lot of that every day, getting that affirmation that you're doing the right thing. So I think with that, our time is up, and our leader, Mr. Rossman, is going to come up and say a few words.